for joining today's Frictionless Friday this afternoon. I am Priscilla Hopper. You saw me a few weeks ago discussing competitive analyses, and today we are going to be talking about finding your brand's voice. Again, I'm the internal marketing and operations manager here at Incivia, and I'm super excited to show you guys what our philosophy around building a brand voice, and also our awesome new Frictionless tool that will help you and your organizations develop a consistent brand identity and brand voice. So what exactly is a brand voice, and why do organizations need one? Well, a brand voice is a distinct personality a business curates to communicate with its target audience across mediums. It includes a unified approach to tone, style, messaging to build brand recognition and nurture a connection with the audience, right? So what exactly is a well-defined brand voice doing, and why do you need it? Well, it promotes consistency, right? Promotes recognizability. It helps you stand out from the crowd, and it promotes a loyal audience, right? If somebody finds something they like, they're likely to use it and stick with it for a while. Brand voice is a major component of your brand's identity. 75% of people recognize a brand by its logo, 60% by its visual style, 45% by its brand signature color, and 25% by its unique voice. Now, while logo, visual style, and signature color are all super important, clearly, what's also really important is what else lives on a landing page. It's going to be text. So how are you exactly communicating with your audience that is not only unique, but also recognizable to them as something that is trustworthy and authentic? And I ask that because 74% of consumers say transparent communication has become more important to their buyer activity since COVID-19. 68% of businesses say brand consistency has contributed to revenue growths of 10% or more. And 88% of consumers say that authenticity is a key factor when deciding what brands they like and support. So overall, briefly, the right tone of voice can, set you apart from your competitors, humanize your brand, right? You're not just people on a screen. You're not just a product or a service. You're more than that. It can build trust through familiarity and influence users, maintaining that personal connection. And all of that really ties into our first point here of what you're really getting by building a great brand voice, a strategic brand voice, is shaping business persona. This reflects your unique value proposition without putting on a big sales show, right? People aren't always coming to your site to get sold to. They want to be influenced in a way because you are conveying that you should be trusted, that you should get their money, so to speak, and that you understand them, that you get what they want, that you are the people to support their needs, to solve their problems, right? It reflects your core values and also what your brands stand for, right? Your missions, your goals, your approaches. Promotes consistency online. We've mentioned this. You want to convey a polished and professional image. What exactly are you going to do in order to convey that really consistently, right? And by being very consistent, that really includes creating memorable, recognizable, and impactful content. Plus, you want to be speaking your audience's language. A consistent and strategic brand voice is going to bridge the gap between your organization and the audience. And people buy when they feel trusted, they feel seen, and they feel as though they're being understood, right? So let's run through some of our brief tips about developing your brand voice, and then we'll just talk very briefly about the frictionless marketing tool that we want to show you today. So first off is know your audience. You have to know your audience before you can begin to start defining your brand. Not just their demographics or even their psychographics and how they interact with your site, but you need to be doing research on this target market in terms of interviews. Interview your current customers, interview potential prospects, conduct a survey. You look at customer support tickets and how people leave reviews about your product, right? Even lean on Google Analytics or other content analytics tools and create a buyer persona for your ideal customer, because that will help you then understand what kind of voice that they respond to. Write your brand script first. Now that you've identified your audience and maybe some keywords that are strongly associated with them, this is when you should be writing some sort of script that focuses on just one audience at a time, and we'll We'll talk about that in just a second. But this script should be about 100 words. It's almost like an elevator pitch, right? It will help you get the tone of your brand voice down before moving on to the next step, which would be to scale out, right? Focus on one audience at a time and then scale. If you only focus on your broadest audience, then you're going to sound like you're kind of selling to everyone, when instead you want to be focused on, avoiding sounding like a different company to everybody, but instead, sounding consistent. However, like if I'm the consumer, I want to be told things that resonate with me, that are solving my problems, that make me feel like you are a trustworthy organization, right? You don't want to speak to fully everybody at once, because that's just going to dilute your messages and make people feel maybe a little confused. So that's why organizing your site in a way that ensures personas are being seen in every single category that they might need to be reached is really important. And that's really where this step comes in. Avoid using slang. It's okay to be comfortable, conversational. We'll talk about that in a few points here. But you don't want to use like offensive language or jargon. We recommend not using any curse words and any type of promotion. We have a few things that technically go against that, but that's because we are supporting so much through other ways of communicating our brand voice, right? Which is clever and expert driven. So just make sure that whenever you are using slang or jargon, that your audience is definitely going to understand it like 99% of the time. Implement the 3 C's. This is probably the most consistent thing that comes out of people talking about brand identity. Remembering the 3 C's, we've got be clear, be concise, and be consistent. So to be clear, you want to make sure that your brand is easily understood by your target audience, and avoid using, particular acronyms or anything like that. Be simple, okay? Be concise. Keep your brand messaging short and sweet. No one wants to hear a long sales pitch, right? So just get to the point, make it quick. If you're not sure how to be concise, I found this small guide online, which I really like. Take a piece of your brand's messaging and cut it by 50%. Cut it in half, completely in half, and see how you feel about it. If that's maybe too drastic for you, you could start at 25% and see how you feel. But once you cut it in half, walk away for like a day or two maybe, or even hand it off to somebody else on a different team and see how they feel about it. Come back with fresh eyes and give yourself that feedback that you need. If it's great, then you're on your way. If it's not, then start over. But I think that's a great way to maintain some concise messaging within your brand. Be consistent. Once you've found your right voice, stick with it. Don't make a bunch of changes, especially not over a short period of time. Don't be all over the place. Don't overuse exclamation points. We'll say that in a second. You want to be professional. You want to be business to business. You want to create your landing pages, blogs, and email, campaigns that all feel like they're coming from the same, group of people, the same organization. Don't use all caps. I know I used all caps, but that was just to be a little ironic. They're for exciting moments, right? But no one likes to really see all caps. It's a little aggressive online. You don't want to be shouting at your audience. So just don't use it. And don't overuse exclamation points. I know it's really easy to feel very excited about conveying how fantastic your organization is to your audience, but you want to be professional. You want to make sure that your company is not seen and known as overusing exclamation points. So we should just suggest keeping them at a minimum. Keep it conversational, but not too much. Conversational language is a big part of building a brand, right? You want to be able to relate to your audience, but there is a very, very strategic balance between being formal and informal and making sure that you're communicating a very smart balance between the two. And last but not least, and arguably the most important, is to test your brand voice in different scenarios. So that means different people, different social platforms, different mediums in general, content pages, and different target personas, right? Once you've determined which formats and channels are most popular among your audience, that's really when you can create content that uses your brand voice and see exactly how it performs. Okay. Let's see. Now that is it for our brief presentation today. Now, what I would like to do is bring you into this video by our CEO Andy. Let me stop presenting very briefly and make sure that I have audio shared. Okay, beautiful. So let's just watch this brief message by him explaining why brand voice is so important.
Your brand voice is an important part of your vision. When you define value propositions, what makes you different, positioning statements, how you speak to the world, it's important to make sure that you have a unique voice that you can use to define all those statements. Your voice is typically made of the persona, tone, language, and purpose, those four elements that really define how you speak to the world. By defining those elements, you can really create messaging across a website, print materials, anything that you use that is unique and really seen as what makes your organization special. One of the things that we really love to do is create a person that relates to the voice, that person that you see in your head every time your business talks. And so if you define those elements for your company, you can really create a voice that makes you different in the marketplace, unique to any other company, and familiar to anyone that sees or hears anything about your business. So if you're creating a vision, make sure that you define a very specific voice to find success in brand and marketing.
Okay, so next we're going to talk a little bit more about frictionless, and so that's what we're here for today, right? So just to briefly show you here, all of our tools can be found in this tab here. And what we're going to look at today is that brand voice builder. Now, this is something that I've already started to build out. If I go into the voice builder, you'll see that I have dragged and dropped certain terms, that we'll call them, that have to do with my persona that I'm building. So super easy to use. Let's say we're logical, warm, and inventive, right? We sound authentic, fun, enthusiastic, speak sensible, inviting, jargon-filled. We aim to educate, inform, and motivate, right? So from here, I can go into brand messaging and I can add new messages. So I can either create my own message, or you can create you can pull messages from your own site, right? Or even a competitor's site to see what they're doing. So let's just say, or actually let's keep moving here. So in our brand voice section, you can do one of two things. You can write it out yourself, right? Create some really thorough notes and then trim and move on and come back and keep on brainstorming. Or, fun little thing, you can use our AI to actually generate this for you, right? So now we've got some definitions, right? We've got how they relate to each other. They can work effectively in a balanced marketing strategy, the do's and the don'ts of using certain terminology, right? So either you can do this yourself, you can have AI do it for you, and then you can say, I like being inconsistent, which, as just a tip from me to you, you shouldn't be. And then last but not least, we have the voice analyzer. I'm just going to type in Insivia.com here. Now, the idea here is that we are able to go and gather what exactly other sites or even your site is being perceived right now. So our persona at Insivia is innovative and professional. I would absolutely is experienced, yeah, and then for our tone is experienced as confident and direct. Language is professional and savvy. And our purpose is experienced as educated and engaged. So those are all absolutely correct in how I would define Insivia, but this is done by AI. So it's really, really fun to play around with. It's really great to also just start as kind of a drawing board, and later on build something that's more consistent, something that's strong for your company to really implement. So that is our brand voice builder. That is what we wanted to talk to you today about, our philosophy around building your brand voice and how it relates to your brand identity. So if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us at Insivia, and go to frictionless.insivia.com to go play around with all of our other fantastic tools that all utilize AI. So thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great one.